Welcome back. Now, the Judicial Service Commission wants President Cyril Ramaphosa to suspend judges Tshifiwa, Maumela and Mngqibisa-Thusi of the Gauteng Division of the High Court. This, according to the statement, relates to failure to deliver numerous reserved judgments. Let's get some reaction now from Mbekezeli Benjani, a researcher at Judges Matters. Thank you very much, Mbekezeli, for your time here on ENCA. Just firstly, quite embarrassing for the judicial system to find that there are people in such privileged positions who, according to the statement, have several reserved judgments that they still haven't delivered.
Good afternoon, Seho, and to the viewers. Yes, it is not a really pretty picture to see senior judges of the High Court being dragged through a disciplinary process for failing to do their primary job, which is to deliver judgments. So it is really a sad moment, I think, in the judiciary, but it is a necessary thing because in as much as they wield power, they also have to account for that power. And this is one of the ways in which judges are held accountable.
And I mean, looking at Judge Maumela, for instance, this is somebody who is presiding over a very important case in South Africa. It's watched by the entire nation every time it goes on. That is, of course, the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. But then it means that the accused in this particular trial can go back to courts and say, we don't trust this judge. We don't want him to be presiding over this. And then it's another waste of time in finding a new one.
Well, I don't think that is possible. The law doesn't allow you to just say, because a judge is currently facing a disciplinary process on an unrelated issue, that you ask for a new judge. So what is likely to happen now is that now that the JSC has recommended Judge Maumela's suspension, the president will confirm the suspension and set a date from when it officially starts. And from that date onwards, Judge Maumela can't take on any new cases, but he will continue to deal with the Senzo Meyiwa trial because he's already heard the evidence, he's already heard some of the witnesses. And so it would be disruptive to get a new judge to restart the whole case. So what's going to happen from now onwards is that he will continue until the end of this particular trial, but he can't take on any work.
And I hear you when you say that, he will have to continue with this particular trial because if the suspension is confirmed by the president, he'll continue with whatever he was presiding over. But doesn't that then also still anyway put a dark cloud over this particular case because now you're dealing with a judge that is going through a disciplinary process through a tribunal?
Well, look, like I said, it's not an ideal situation. We don't want any of our judges to have these kinds of allegations or for them to be suspended on anything. We want all our judges to be in court and doing their work, and most of them do. However, when already a judge is under disciplinary measures, you can't then take it in your particular case and say he can't preside over the case. He can still do a good job in presiding over this case. It's just that all the others that he was dealing with were not dealt with properly. So the issue is that the time at which he's taking to deliver the judgments, it's not necessarily about the quality of the judgments themselves.
And of course, we're talking about two judges here, so let's not concentrate on Judge Maumela alone. There are two judges in the form of Judge Nomonde Mngqibisa-Thusi, who's also going to possibly go through this disciplinary process. Talk to me about how this makes things look in a South Africa where, people, including victims and even accused people who've spent time in prison and are saying that this case is not coming to finality. I also want justice, etc. Does this also not just talk to that fact? South Africans complaining that the wheels of justice in this country turn too slowly and that judges don't really consider the oath that they signed.
Well, yes. The people who are waiting for these judgments have been done an injustice. We have to accept that, and which is why it's so important that the JSC is taking action against them. However, we must also balance this with the versions that the two judges put up. Both of them have said that they are under pressure They have health conditions that have delayed them in doing the work. And we know that in Pretoria, for example, they have a huge shortage of judges. So there is a huge need for more judges because the work is just unbearable. So we have to balance these two, and the tribunal will find a way in which to hold the judges accountable and at the same time ensure that the judgments are delivered on time.
So then that means that, the injustice that is served on some of these cases, especially if these two judges are found guilty in their DC, goes further than just the judges themselves. It goes all the way to the National Prosecuting Authority then, or the JSC itself, in terms of complaints that the workload is too much, we need more, vacancies aren't being filled, etc. So it means that, the injustices are all the way to a top level then in South Africa.
Yes, absolutely. Look, our judiciary is not given enough resources to do the job that they need to. Right now, lots of judges don't have access to libraries. They don't have proper administration to support them. A lot of the judges don't have research support, right? The judges in Pretoria, there are about 45 of them. They share about 6 researchers. And if you compare this to the Constitutional Court, where each judge has 3 researchers allocated to them, you can see that the inequalities within the system, the resourcing that is not enough in the judiciary does cause some of these problems, and they do cause an injustice. And so perhaps the real question should be put to Treasury, should be put to the Ministry of Justice on how they support the judiciary in order to do its work. Of course, at the same time, we should never also try to not hold the judges accountable. Accountability is also an important factor in all of this.